Alright, so next we're going to look at the miter saw. Some people refer to it as a chop saw because of its kind of chopping action, but the miter saw is actually its proper name. So the miter saw is called that because it can make a straight across cut like this, but it can also make a miter, which is a cut that's at an angle. So for this one, to do that, we'll loosen this knob here and then grab this little clamp and move the whole base over to whatever numbered angle it is that we want to cut. Then this should be tightened back before you make your cut. So we're going to move that back and then take it over to 0 for our 90-degree angle. So our 90-degree angle, of course, is square across the board. Just like that. And then when we do this, we can take our saw blade and put it right next to the line. So we want to make sure that the blade falls into the portion of the wood that's going to be scrapped. So you can't actually keep all of this wood. You're going to lose, again, about a 1/16 of it due to kerf, which is this part of the blade that chews it all up and turns it into sawdust. So if you needed the full dimension of both these pieces, you'd have to start with a little extra. So we're going to assume that this is the side we don't want. We're going to lay the blade so that this left edge touches the line and the right part of it falls into the scrap area of the wood. So this is another saw where I recommend using the full face shield. The saw blade is made up of little teeth that are welded on, and occasionally one of those can come unwelded and fly at you. So you have little pieces of metal as well as little bits of wood and sawdust flying at you, so we don't want any of that. Alright, so hold the wood firmly, keep it down on this table and towards this back fence, and then we're going to squeeze the handle here and pull down. Alright, so this saw is marked with little pictures of hands and slashes, so you want to try to keep your hands in these no hand zones when possible. If it's not possible, you can use some kind of a clamp to hold this wood against the back fence or against this side fence. But you have to watch and make sure that the saw itself isn't going to bump into your clamp. Okay, so we could cut this like this. And that's actually good because you don't have to worry about trying to hold it while the saw is coming down. Now, what's really nice about this saw is that we can use it to make miters. So for a miter, we're going to lay the wood this direction. For a 90-degree, we can keep it either way, either this way or this way. Alright, so first we're going to draw the line. So I'm going to use this combination square to make the line. So now I have a 45-degree angle. I'll slide this over to the notch where it says 45 and then tighten it. Bring this down. Oh, some dust there. But look, my hands are in this no hand zone. So I do want to have some kind of a clamp to keep that wood from moving. See if we can get a C-clamp to work. Be able to clear it there. So again, keep the wood down, take this and squeeze the handle and bring it down. Alright, so the chop saw or miter saw has a guard that covers up the blade, so it's one of the safer tools to use and probably one of the easier ones. But it's also one that makes a very smooth and accurate cut, so you don't usually have to sand this cut after you've made it. The nice thing for making picture frames and things like that, so you can take your 245s and put them together and make a really nice, neat corner. All right. There is a limitation to what you can cut on it. If I try to put a piece of wood that is this big here, I might be able to go all the way to the end. Let's see if it's big enough to do that. Alright, so we were able to get that cut. So that is probably the limit though. So it looks like our limit is about 7.5 inches this way. So anything wider than that, we'd have to either cut it on the table saw or the radial arm saw, which are in the other part of the shop. We cannot do this. We can't put a piece of wood under here that's this tall. Alright, now sometimes you want to make a whole bunch of pieces of wood and cut them all exactly the same length. So one way to do that is to measure the length between the saw blade and this fence here and clamp something to the back. You can take a piece of wood like this, put a big clamp here, make sure that's nice and square. And now every time I put this piece of wood here, oops, get that on there tighter. Every time I put this piece of wood here, the distance between the saw blade and this piece of wood is going to be the same. So every cut that I make is going to be equal. But we can kind of see how that would work. Alright, so the other thing that's important to know about this is we can't do this. We can't cut a piece of wood this way. You can also not do this. Notice there's nothing really holding on to it. It's going to fall. Can't do that. In the old building, there was a broken window behind my saw where somebody had tried to do that and the wood flipped off and crashed into the window. And of course, you absolutely do not want to put your hands close to this blade and try to hold onto it when your hand is going to be so close to that saw blade. So we want to keep all our fingers the same ones we had at the beginning of class. We want to walk out of the class with those fingers. All right, I think that's all we want to talk about for the miter saw.